Hello everyone, this is Professor Vishesh Jain, a chartered accountant and ex-alumna of KPMG. I have been associated with Pinnacle and various other institutions across Mumbai. So to give you a short summary of your paper number 1 accounting of CA final, that is financial reporting, we commonly call it as accounts. It's one of the most crucial paper that will be appearing since this is the first paper of your exams. And so the students have to give their best. But if this paper goes well, it provides a huge booster for all the other papers that will be appearing. FR, a 100-mark paper which requires around 200 to 250 hours of duration, comprises of 32 chapters, where your sixth chapter comes for around 60 to 70 marks, and other 26 chapter come for 30 to 40 marks. So, what is the main coverage of FR? Here in FR, we'll be studying all about Ind AS, that is Indian Accounting Standards, which is basically our Indian version of IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standard. And I'm sure by the time you finish the curriculum, you will be in love with the subject. Now, the most important priority for me is the student scoring assumption and to ensure that the main focus is going to be on conceptual clarity. Because in FR, it does not matter the number of sums you do, but all that matters is the number of concepts you cover, or basically covering all the concepts which are given in the ICI module. So, at Pinnacle over here, we'll be providing you with a FR final book where we'll be covering all the illustrations of ICAI module, all the RTP sums, all the MTP sums. Even the notes are designed in such a manner where all the complex terminologies which are used in the module and all the boring language that we come across while reading the module are put in such a sugar-coated form that it makes it easy even for a non-CA student to understand. Now, at the end of every chapter, you'll be also provided with assignment sheets which will cover all the ICI past exam question paper which has to be solved by the students, which will give you a reality check of what you can expect in the exam. Now, based on the recent conversation with few of my students, I have come across that people saying that sir का तो हो गया है पढ़ा के हमारा बाकी है. That's the most important criteria I'm going to address over here today. At Pinnacle, in a typical classroom scenario, all the illustrations will be done by you. All the illustrations will be done by the students themselves. So by the time the entire FR syllabus is done, you are already done with first reading, one reading on your own. And if the student is consistent and is studying every day, so by the time the entire syllabus is done, your two readings of the entire FR subject is done. And hence, scoring an exemption becomes very much, very easy for you in such a case. So just to give you a small idea of how things are taught over here, let's take a very simple topic on PPE. So PPE is one of the first topic that we're going to start. That is PPE. The full form is property, plant, and equipment. Now, what is the definition of PPE? PPE basically stands for PPE is an asset. The most important thing that it should be an asset. And what is an asset? An asset is a resource that has to be that can be controlled by the entity. So going by the definition of PPE, we define PPE is an asset, first thing, which is tangible. Now, what do you mean by word tangible? That means something that you can touch, something that you can see. Because if the PPE is lacking the tangible criteria, it is not a PPE, it is an intangible, which is going to be get covered in another Ind AS, that is Ind AS 38. The first important property of PPE that it should be tangible. The second most important definition of PPE that it should be held for use in the ordinary course of business for either production purpose, or either it could be for the supply purpose, or it could be for rental purpose, or it could be for selling and distribution purpose, or it could be for various other purpose, maybe one of the employee benefit purpose. Now, generally when we ask students, what is PPE? They're like, sir, fixed asset. Let me give a very good example. Say Maruti is in the business of buying and selling cars. So it has big cars in its showroom. Can we call it as a PP? No. The simple reason is Maruti is holding that cars not for use, but for sale. So your own inventory can never become a PPE. So in that case, the first important point is that if you're holding the asset for sale, then you cannot classify it as PPE. It gets covered. It is your own inventory gets covered under Ind AS 2. Is it clear? Now, the second important point when determining the held for use, that when we say held for use, it does not mean it has to generate revenue. To give you a very good example for this, say you visit any of the big corporate offices or you visit any of the big four in your case, you will see the lobby is filled with chandeliers, paintings, and all the decorative stuff. Now, my simple question is, can we call those items as PP? Let's go by the definition. Is it tangible? Yes, of course. Is it held for use? You will say, yes, it is held for use. For what purpose? Maybe for selling and distribution. The clients come, they get impressed by the lobby and they would want to do more business with you. But can I say necessarily does not mean it has to generate revenue? The painting or the chandelier is not going to exactly generate revenue for you. But can I say, is it held for sale purpose? No, you're not going to sell it in the long run. So in that case, can I say PP defines something that is held for use for any of the purposes in the ordinary course of business? The second important point is when we say held for use, it does not mean it generates revenue. To give you one more example, if you ever happen to visit Loda Builders, a head office, you see there's a gymnasium at the basement of the Loda office for all its employees. Now, can Loda classify that entire gymnasium as PP? Going by the definition, is it tangible? Yes, it is tangible. Is it held for use? Yes, it is held for use, maybe for the employee benefit purpose. But is it going to generate revenue? You cannot have a proper correlation that the employees will be actually going to the gym, they will remain fit, and they'll work more towards building more revenue. No. So, very important point over here: held for use does not mean it has to generate revenue. To give you one more example for this, say now this is one of the example which has been used by ICAI. Say we are a chemical manufacturing company and the government has regulated that all the employees should be using safe chemical handling equipment while operating or while doing any of the business. Now, when you purchase those new chemical handling equipment, those necessarily won't be able to generate revenue for you, but somewhere they will be used for your production purpose or for supply purpose. So when I define PP is nothing but the most important thing is it should be held for use. I hope this definition is very clear. And the last point over here is that the life of PPE should be more than 12 months. Because if the life of PP is less than 12 months, then we don't capitalize it or we don't show it as a PP, but we expense it as in the P&L because you're not going to generate, because that particular item is not going to generate any future economic benefit in the next year. Hence, the entire item or the entire expense is taken to the P&L in the same year. So this is how exhaustively we will be covering the definition of PP. This is just a small example over here. Now, what about spare parts or what about standby equipment that company has or maybe some servicing equipment? What should we define this? Is it company's PPE or is it company's inventory? Ideally, let's give an example for the spare parts. Let's say you buy a car. A car, of course, comes with 4 tires, but you also get an extra tire for emergency purpose. Now the question is that fifth tire, can we call it as PP? Let's go by the definition of PP. Is it tangible? Yes. Is it held for use? You may say it's not active use, but somewhere it is passive use. Is the life of that particular tire more than 12 months? If all the three conditions get satisfied, then dear friends, yes, spare parts can be classified as PPE. But even if one of the conditions does not get satisfied, we do not classify it as PPE, but we'll be calling it as inventory. What about standby equipment? Companies have generators in case of power cuts. Again, going by the definition, is it tangible? Yes. Is it held for use? Again, not an active use, but maybe passive use in case of power cuts. Is the life of generator more than 12 months? yes, in that case, you can say even if it meets the definition of PPE, it is going to be classified as PPE. So, in case of all these things, we have to check the definition of PPE. If all the three conditions get satisfied, it is PPE, or else we are going to classify it as an inventory. So all the theory that you see over here is very well mentioned in your notes. That is, see the definition of PP, that is tangible, held for use, life is more than 12 months. Everything is given there in your notes. You just have to sit back, understand the concept, and for all the points, we will be writing notes that will be writing in your notebook all the examples that we have discussed. The Loda builder wala example, the gymnasium wala example, Chandelier wala example, the tire wala example, chemical handling equipment example. All the examples will be written by the students themselves in the class, which I will be dictating. And hence this is how exhaustively we'll be covering the definition of PP and exhaustively covering all the small points that you come across in FR. So I hope the definition of PP is very clear. And once we go through the definition, there are illustrations. So you have a concept followed by illustration. So the next approach will be where I will read the illustration in the class and each of you all have to solve this illustration in the class. Will be given 5 to 10 minutes to solve the illustration and later I'll be discussing the illustration with you. And what you have to do is once you have solved wherever you go wrong, you have to mark it with some other color pen. And trust me, guys, the next time when you make the same mistake, you will remember that this is where you have gone wrong. So this is a very simplified approach where you understand the concept, understand the logic, apply those logic and concepts while solving the illustration, and you're done with the all the illustration. And by the time you finish the entire syllabus, almost 90 to 95% of the illustrations are done by you. And with that, you're done with the first reading of FR. So in conclusion, irrespective of your accounts base, all the concepts will be taught from the grassroots level using a very simple language so the student can easily grasp and apply while attempting the paper. Now, we will also be covering a real life scenario where we will be going through the audited reports of listed companies and see how the theoretical knowledge comes into real life. So, for example, we have annual audited report of Reliance India Limited, where I've highlighted all the important points for you to cover. Like, for example, like this financial capital, national capital, human capital. This is like one of the chapters which is integrated reporting. How it is actually reported, you will get to see. Or another case, whatever is important from the annual report perspective, everything is highlighted and we'll be actually seeing how the company reports because that's your subject, financial reporting. So I've tried to cover all your chapters over here. I highlighted especially for you the balance sheet, P&L, whatever is important, and thus it gives you a real life experience of how things work over there. And the last but not the least, to keep it very short, if you have any doubts or any clarification, you can always reach out to me, and I hope to see you in the class soon. Thank you.